Hello and welcome to this special event video. My name is Guy and we are of course looking at developing the complete campaign for the Save or Dice show, which airs on the Save or Dice YouTube channel. Links are down below. What we're doing is I'm showing you how I'm creating the campaign that the players are running through on that show. So if you are worried about spoilers, arrivederci, so long, farewell, adieu, adieu to you and you and you, goodbye, go away, enjoy the Save or Dice show. If you want to get into the mind of the great game master, or the fat goblin as I think is a more appropriate term, then stay with us as we are creating the Nemesis for our campaign that is running in that Save or Dice show. So we're creating the Nemesis. All right, so the template behind me comes from the book How to Create a Complete Guide to Creating Epic Campaigns, which will be coming out at the end of this month. Links will be everywhere on the show, and there'll be a big episode talking about it where you can get it. You'll find it everywhere, which is a book that I've been writing now for quite some time that shows you how to create epic campaigns using pretty much the methodology that I have used in these videos, plus so much more. Anyway, so that book comes out at the end of the month. This is the template from that, and there's all sorts of ways you can access these templates once the book has been released. We're creating our Nemesis now for the Save or Dice show, and if you notice, we've already had game one. We've already had our first adventure. We didn't have a Nemesis to find. Was that a bad thing? Not at all. The Nemesis didn't even feature in the very first scenario. We don't have to worry about that because we are building up to it. We're still in the building phase of the campaign, so we can add the Nemesis whenever we so choose, and we just happen to choose to add it in episode number 2, which is the Predator. So in this episode, we are introducing our Nemesis. Now, this is the Nemesis template, as you can see behind me, and it is just a quick and easy template to fill in, and it will hopefully give us insight as to how to run these characters. So I'm going to go through creating it very quickly here. We've got name. So we've already established that Predator, this was in the video that came out with the one today, we already established that the Predator all have Ool in their name to link them to Gashul, the god of oblivion, who we've now established as trying to take over the universe. So the name of the Nemesis Predator, the Predator who's in charge, I think his name should be something along the lines of Lord. I'm thinking of a harsh name here. Quelgoth. Raccoon. Lord Quelgoth Raccoon. No, he should not be called Lord Quelgoth Raccoon. Let's go with Wakthroughs. There we go. Wakthroughs. I can live with that. Lord Wakthroughs. I think is pretty fun. We can always change it as we go along. Will the players even learn his name? Well, maybe they might. Just depends really on how fast things go. Okay, so titles. This is the Lord. He will be known as the Sakari Dark Lord. Sakari Seeker is they seek stuff. So the Sakari Dark Lord. What else? What other titles could we give them? Lord, Sakari Dark Lord. No, I think 2 is enough for our purposes. Okay, blunt force trauma, never present or mentor. Very quickly, a blunt force trauma is someone who's always present, like Darth Vader. Never present is a villain whom we don't get to see, like Professor Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes in the original novels, not in the re-dramatization. And then mentor is someone who guides the players and then betrays them at the very end, such as in, say, The Flash, the TV series. So we're going with blunt force trauma. We've established that already. He's just going to be a big violent brute who tries to stop the players, and he is definitely a nemesis. He's not a villain, he's not a henchman. Okay, so desired, ignorant, respected and hated. This talks about how does the villain feel? How does the nemesis, or the villain, or the henchman, but how does the nemesis feel towards their lord? How do they feel? In this case, how does Lord Wakthroughs feel about Gashul, the Dark God? And I think it should be respected. I think Wakthroughs venerates Gashul and his plan. I think that Wakthroughs is someone who absolutely worships Gashul and wants to see Gashul's actions succeed. I don't think he hates him. I don't think he's ignorant that he has another choice. I don't think that he wants to take Gashul's place. I think he wants to help Gashul because he genuinely believes that. So, what is their goal? Their goal is to retrieve the 3 shards, the Karos stones. Okay. Great. Do they have any other goals? Now, this is where the villain starts to become interesting. If they have the primary goal to retrieve the stones, in this case, they're going to do anything in their power to get those shards back. Do they have any other goals? Now, those other goals could very much be to remain the lord of the Sakari. How did he become the Dark Lord of the Sakari in the first place? What led him there? What keeps him there? Is he particularly strong? Is he particularly smart? Is he particularly violent? These are kinds of questions that we need to ask ourselves. Oh, I missed a thing here. I'll come back to it. So does he have any other goals? I think his goal, once he helps, why is he helping Gashul? He's helping Gashul because Gashul has promised him power in the new universe that Gashul is making. Of course, we know that that's completely false. So do they have any other goals? I think it's to prove themselves, prove worthy of dominion. So he's going to prove himself worthy. So that gives us a lot of actions that he's going to take. So that's his desire, is to become Lord of the universe under Gashul. So Gashul will remake the universe and be the god, and Wakthroughs here will be the Lord of the universe. Okay, so he's going to prove worthy of dominion. Okay, so let's go with some descriptive characteristics, facial features. I think his face should be a skull. Let's say we can't go with red. Marvel kind of solved that one. Yellow is very sort of Skeletor-esque. Green, a green skull. That's kind of Lord of the Rings in its feel. Purple, blue. Rotting. No, rotting is just Pirates of the Caribbean. What if it was... Oh, what if it was an illusion of a skull that lags in movement? So what if he created a... So he doesn't have a head. He's headless. And that's how he became a Predator, is he was beheaded. We don't have the creation myth for how these Predator came into being. But he is headless. What if that is what we were trying to work out what the Predator were, and we had some ideas, but I've completely forgotten them now. What if they're just embodiment of nothingness, but they like these illusions. So when he turns his head, the skull kind of drifts and takes time to get there, and when he looks back, it takes time to get there. So the illusion of what's happening needs to... I think that's kind of interesting. Okay, so let's say it's harsh, it's dark. Let's say British. Okay, body type. He's a blunt force, so he's got to be quite physical. So I would say big and bold. Let's say spikes and armor, as in covered in spikes and armor. Okay. So his equipment will be plate mail. What weapons does he use? What's terrifying? Sauron had his big mace, which I thought was too big. I didn't think it was actually terrifying, as it was just ridiculous. Skeletor had his staff. Red Skull had the Nazi Empire, or Hydra anyway. What equipment, what weapon should he use? What's a scary weapon that brings about the idea of oblivion? It leaves nothing behind. But that isn't too deadly to destroy level 3 characters. Because I was thinking maybe it's just a wand of oblivion. What if it was ethereal blades of nothing? I'm going to put a note here, Protoss style. Now, I hate cross-genreing, but these are my notes. So imagine that as they fight, they sort of push their hands down and these black blades of smoke appear. And that's how they kind of fight. I like that because then when they die, all that's left is the plate armor, not the weaponry. So I think that's quite cool. So how do they see? No, so what do we see when we are looking at this villain? Tall, black. I mean, to have any other color, or maybe it should be maroon, because black is very common. So tall, maroon, strong, military. These are all sort of descriptors. Military, powerful, commanding. Okay. Sound. What do they sound like? When blades attack, screams of the dead. I don't know why they're oblivion, but that's what we hear. Smell. I think this should be rotten. Rotten cucumber is particularly nauseating, but should be rotten. No, let's make it something more interesting. What if they smelled, because they're just void energy, really. These things. I know it's going back on what I said before, but I've decided today it's cooler, and we haven't introduced them yet, so they're still not fixed. So what if they were to smell like dried rose petals? I know it sounds really weird, right? But there's a reason why I'm choosing it. And the reason why I'm choosing it is because that's quite distinctive. So there's sort of dried rose petals, let's call it here, decaying flowers. So that is a very distinctive smell. And the reason why I'm going with such a distinctive descriptor is because when I say, and this aroma radiates off of this gigantic warrior of black metal, smells like dying roses, everybody, well, at least everyone in my experience, will immediately think of their grandmother's little ball of potpourri, which, if you've ever smelled it, has this really odd kind of sort of sweet but dusty smell. I could never understand why it was kept around the house. But, well, there we go. That's insight into my childhood and families. But it's so unique, though, that it's not what you expect. You expect rotten meat or corpses or however that might smell. This way, when they encounter someone who smells of drying flowers, it's actually a predator who's in disguise. So it's going to give them away. And when I say dried rose petals, immediately it's going to trigger them back. So it's shorthand for this is a bad guy. How do they feel to the touch? I would say icy cold, hard. Would it be hard? Yes, it would be hard. It's sort of unyielding. It's not like there's any muscles that have any give. So unyielding. What else can we talk about when we talk about the touch? Oh, if they touch the players, let's say jolts of electric current. So it's like pinpricks. It's just nasty. It's unhappy. General emotional state, I think, is cold and calm. When they are happy, so when they're about to achieve a victory or a goal, how do they behave? I think this should be with arrogance. How do you spell arrogance? Arrogant, double R, probably. I don't know. You can see that I'm not going to be arrogant about my spelling abilities. Arrogant and prideful. Okay, I know that sounds very much like a standard response. Some people, when they are happy, they are very, very, very concerned. Why are they happy? What have they missed? Why should they be happy? Those kinds of things. So you're going to have all kinds of reactions. When they're sad, or when they are thwarted, for example, how should they act? I think they should go very quiet, sullen. So he just doesn't say anything when he fails. Almost denies that it even happened. When he gets angry, how should he act? So when he loses his temper, I think he should get incredibly violent, destructive. I realize I have written out supposedly the Kylo Ren character with these kinds of descriptions. Mine doesn't have long flowing hair, so mine's better. Brief biography. Okay, so this is where we have to come up with Wakthroughs' past. So let's go very quickly. Lord Wakthrough, once a noble ruler of the lost kingdom of, let's say, Forgear, now a predator for Geshul, lost his wife, son, and lands when Karos split apart, swore oath to Geshul to enact his plans on the prime material plane in exchange for, well, returning his wife, son to him and instating him as ruler of the universe. Okay, so now we go back here. What is their goal? To retrieve the 3 shards. Do they have any other goals? It's no longer to prove worthy. He's obviously proven worthy. It is to be reunited with his wife and son. And right now, we're going to give her a name. We're going to call her Yengrin. And the son, we are going to call Roskin. Roskin Wakthrough and Yengrin Wakthrough. Okay. So he's obviously very old as well, because the planet split apart quite some time ago. It's the only part I don't like about using Photoshop, but normally this would be written out by hand. It's actually for your viewing pleasure that we do it this way. Okay, so there we go. We've pretty much got our Nemesis. He's got a bit of a history. He's got 3 things. He used to be a lord. He has a lost wife, son that he wants to try and get back. And he swore an oath to Gushul to bring about the end of the universe. He's got 3 things. We know what he's like when he's emotional, etc., etc. We've got some descriptors for him. Good to go. 100%. When our characters meet Lord Wakthroughs, they've got a full Nemesis that they can encounter and meet, and we can develop over time as well, because we've got a lot of leeway here that we can work with. Well, there we go. That's how to create a Nemesis for this Save or Dice campaign. Let's see how the characters react when they meet the Dark Lord of the Sakari, Lord Wakthroughs. Till next time, I wish you and yours the very happiest campaign designing.